able to stay on? Good evening. My name is Omari Swinton. I'm the chair of the economics department at Howard University, and I would like to welcome you to our annual ODE, normally a dinner, but this year, as was last year's, a virtual lunch. And I want to start off by thanking Provost Wuto and Dean Patterson for joining us today to offer brief remarks at the beginning, and also our speaker, Dr. Morse. This has been a different year for everybody in the Howard community. And I first would like to opportunity for people to actually see faculty members, because unlike when we were on campus and you could randomly see a faculty member, this year you didn't have that opportunity. So for some of you, you might have only seen 2 or 3 of us all year. So if every faculty member can unmute themselves and say hello so that we could at least see our students and our students can see us.
Hello.
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 Hi.
Hello. Kenneth Hunt. Nice to meet you guys.
And I want to pay a special note to
everyone.
This is going to be his last semester with us, and so we didn't get to say goodbye in person, but we do wish you the best in all your future endeavors. Next, we want to recognize all of our students who are graduating or have graduated in the fall. So all our graduating seniors, our graduate students, and our undergraduates. If you could say hello so people can see your face pop up on the screen as well.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Peace, everybody.
So hopefully some of you are going to come to the in-person events that we're having on campus, and hopefully some of us will see you at those events. I normally don't have a lot to say, and I'm going to be very quick as always, but I do want to state that although we had a lot of challenges this year, we have been successful in making sure that our students have been successful in making sure that they have continued on towards their education. This is going to be seen by over 10 graduate students who will graduate this year, as well as over 15 undergraduates who will graduate this year. For freshmen, our first year graduate students who are on the call, who we haven't seen in person, we look forward to seeing you in the fall, and look forward to making sure that you get the best Howard experience possible. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Provost Wuto for brief remarks, and then to Dean Patterson.
Good evening, everyone, faculty, students, alum, staff, and thank you for joining us this evening. It certainly is an honor and a pleasure for me to bring greetings on behalf of President Frederick and on behalf of the entire Howard University community. As Dr. Swinton had alluded to, this has been a very challenging year, not only for Howard University, not just for this country, but globally, as we continue to manage through a global pandemic that has had significant health and also economic consequences for the world. But I believe it's also been a successful year for Howard University. Our students, our faculty continue to do great things. And I think this has been a successful year in a number of ways. Our alums are continuing to make significant contributions. I look forward to hearing Trustee Morse's comments this evening as an alum, and probably our most illustrious alum, Vice President Kamala Harris, who speaks not only of her experience at Howard University, but a significant way that it has been impactful in her life, in her career, and as she's progressed through her political positions. So greetings again. I'm glad everyone has been able to join. And I certainly want to congratulate our graduating students and look forward to seeing all the great things you will continue to contribute. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our faculty who continue to teach, who continue to mentor, who continue to provide an example for our students. So I'll stop there and just thank everyone for joining again this evening. Dean Patterson, I'll turn things over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Provost Wuto, and good evening, all distinguished participants in this very fine program. My brief remarks, I think I just really want to celebrate the overall success of the Department of Economics. I'm convinced that I'm the biggest fan of this department. They're a quiet department. The only time I hear from them when they have another success to share, or when they have another opportunity that they're out to pursue and they're looking for support. If every department worked in that way, it'll make my job a lot easier, for sure. So again, I'm just a great fan of the department, not only because of what it is doing today, but when you kind of like, when you open the aperture, you take a wider view of where the department has come from over the past, several years or so. A time when, going back a number of years, when a number of faculty members exited the university in a concentrated period, and they didn't get the opportunity to automatically just to restock the faculty. But they didn't go negative or anything like that. They continued to focus and to work very hard and to make the case successfully like they did. And they got opportunities ultimately to make several new faculty appointments. And they made really the best use of those by appointing some very talented faculty members who are doing an outstanding job. So again, I think that the department is sort of a model for other departments, not just here at Howard, but at other universities as well, that had to rebuild themselves and to do so in an outstanding fashion. So I just want to, again, celebrate the success, the overall success of the Department of Economics.
Thank you, Dean Patterson. At this time, Aisha, if you could introduce our illustrious speaker.
Great, thank you everyone and good evening. I'm Aisha Udochi, a second-year PhD student in the department, and I'm a member of the Graduate Economics Student Association. On behalf of GESA, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Laurence Morse as our guest speaker for this year's ODE recognition ceremony. Dr. Morse is the current chair of Howard University's Board of Trustees, serving as a member since 2014. He graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa with a bachelor's in economics from Howard University. He was also a Luard Scholar at the London School of Economics and Political Science. He holds a master's and PhD in economics from Princeton University, and he served as a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard University. He has gone on to be the co-founder and managing partner of Fairview Capital Partners, a private equity investment management firm. Before that, he has held a number of positions across a number of venture capitals. So TSG Ventures, Equico Capital Corporation, and UNC Ventures, to name a few. And he serves on the advisory boards of a number of other partnerships, including US Venture Partners, Battery Ventures, Sierra Ventures, and Trinity Ventures. Ultimately, his academic achievements and vibrant career speak volumes about his dedication as a practicing economist. So thank you for sharing your insights with us this evening. And it is, again, my greatest pleasure to give the floor to Chairman, co-founder, and managing partner, Dr. Laurence Morse.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Udochi, for that very kind and generous introduction. Good evening, everyone. A special acknowledgement and thanks to Provost Wuto and Dean Patterson for coming out this evening. I have perhaps a clearer sense than many of the length of your days, how hard you work, so the fact that you would take time this evening to be with us is a special treat. So thank you both for being here. Members of the faculty of the Department of Economics and students, thank you all for being here this evening. It is such an honor for me. And I want to say a very special thanks to Ms. Hazel Robinson, whom I've yet to meet. Our communication has been totally via email. It was she who reached out and asked me to be your speaker this evening. And I confess that when I agreed to do so, I had no idea, nor quite frankly, was I prepared for the floodgate of memories that contemplating this evening would open. I mean, memories long dormant that would come alive before my eyes again. You see, it was 50 years ago now, literally 50 years ago now, 1 month removed. On May 28, 1971, I was inducted into Omicron Delta Epsilon at Howard University. My name and the date of my induction inscribed on the back of the gold key I was presented on that occasion, which I have with me this evening. I don't know if you can see it, but Omicron Delta Epsilon. I don't believe I've had occasion to look at the back of this key since it was given. And I was stunned, I mean, literally stunned to realize that it had been awarded 50 years ago. And how could that be? What happened to those 50 years? Where did they go? And as I allowed myself to reflect on the passage of those years and my uneven, nonlinear path to this evening, I could not but also reflect on the multiple currents in my life that meet and cross and had their origin at the nexus that is the economics department of Howard University. In the late 1970s, the Urban Institute there in Washington attracted a brilliant economist to its staff to lead a team within its employment and labor policy group that would focus and conduct research on systemic racial inequities in the United States. That economist was Dr. David H. Swinton, the father of your current department chair, Dr. Omari Swinton. And as a newly minted Princeton-trained economist, I was his first hire. So Chair Dr. Swinton, I've known of you most of your life, and it is an honor and very meaningful and special for me to be in your company this evening. And if your father happens to be online as well, I mean, that's just a double honor for me. To our inductees, it is not too difficult for me to see myself in the place where you sit this evening. And although the passage of time obscures any certainty I might have about my precise thoughts as I sat with my peers and listened to our invited speaker some 50 years ago, it's not too much of a stretch for me to hazard a bit of informed speculation. I knew by that time, this was late in my sophomore year, that I would be leaving Howard in the fall to spend my junior year at the London School of Economics. I was for sure a bundle of inchoate dreams, ambition, and trepidation. I'm fairly certain that at that stage in my life, I was occupied with questions about possible careers and directions, having not as yet decided definitively that I would pursue graduate study in economics after my undergraduate years at Howard. And I'm certain that I was grappling with the meaning of commitment, seeking the ground of my ultimate concerns and what it meant to lead a principled life. As a high school student in Jacksonville, Florida, I'd had the opportunity during my junior and senior years to work both part-time and in summers with AT&T long lines and subsequently the US Army Corps of Engineers. And in those jobs, I came into close contact and engagement with electrical engineers, civil engineers, and thought perhaps I'd pursue a career as an engineer. So when I applied for admission to Howard, I applied for admission to the College of Engineering and Architecture and was pre-enrolled in that school. But over the course of the last 2 years in high school, something else had begun to affect my consciousness. My older brother, who was 4 years ahead of me in school, had come home from college and begun to share some of his reading with me. I recall reading James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time, Price Cobb's and William Greer's Black Rage, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and Frantz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth. And I'd begun to question why it was that most of the adults in my community who worked so very hard had so very little to show for it. So before arriving, I wrote to Howard requesting that my enrollment be changed to the College of Liberal Arts. And it was a senior in the honors program who suggested that my evolving political consciousness would benefit by some grounding in economics. And following his counsel, I enrolled in my very first economics course, Introduction to Economics. The instructor was Dr. Basil K. Al-Bustani, whose dry wit and sparkling erudition made the so-called dismal science seem the most interesting subject in the world. I mean, here at last, I'd begin to study the process of production, consumption, and accumulation of wealth, to study the mechanisms by which a society chooses to allocate its finite resources to competing alternative ends, purposes, and unlimited wants. A subject, the mastery of which required the sort of rigor which had been the source of my attraction to engineering, but one with a very clear focus on how societies were ordered and worked in one way and not another. And after that first course, I simply continued to enroll in successive economics courses. I was hooked. When I was awarded a scholarship by the English-speaking Union of the United States and the United Kingdom to spend my junior year at a British university, I applied to and was accepted to the LSE. But before going, one of my faculty mentors in the economics department advised me to focus less on specific courses, but rather take advantage of this opportunity to focus on particularly interesting minds. So of course, I enrolled in history of economic thought taught by the lion of the faculty, Lord Lionel Robbins, deemed by many at the time the successor to the mantle of Lord John Maynard Keynes. I took macroeconomics from the great Canadian economist, Sir Harry Johnson, generally regarded at that time as the profession's foremost macroeconomist. I took a course in international history from Professor James Joel, and I monitored a series of lectures given by visiting Harvard professor of philosophy and logic, W.V.O. Quine. It was a challenging and ultimately very rewarding year, after which I returned to Howard, finished my undergraduate career, then pursued graduate studies in the economics department at Princeton University. I wrote my dissertation in the field of labor economics, supervised by two highly accomplished labor economists, the late Professor Albert Rees and Professor Orley Ashenfelter, and the mathematical economist Richard Quant. The problems that occupied my concern then, as they do now, are the challenges faced by young people without a college education attempting to transition from school to sustainable employment sufficient to allow them to lead remunerative, productive lives. And I will confess to you that the farther along I progressed in my work, which continued after I joined Dr. Swinton at the Urban Institute, the growing realization that much of the economics profession was unable and unwilling to confront the elephant in the room, the exclusion of considerations of race as a central factor in our, as a central factor in the existence and continuance of gross economic disparities in our society became ever more problematic for me as I contemplated my future career. And here I'd be remiss, quite frankly, if I didn't recognize and salute Professor Bill Spriggs for his timely, courageous, and bold open letter to economists, to the profession, published in June of last year. I've not had the privilege of meeting Dr. Spriggs directly. I've long known of him and of his work. Dr. Spriggs, if you're in the audience this evening, two of my very good friends had the good fortune to be schoolmates of yours at Williams College when you were all undergraduates. Stephen Rogers, who recently retired from the faculty of Harvard Business School, and Clarence Otis, the former CEO of Darden Foods, both of whom recall you with fondness and respect for your powerful intellect and unwavering integrity. But to get back to my narrative, after one too many times passing DuPont Circle in the morning, on my way to the Urban Institute and seeing the benches and ground there populated by young Black men with apparently no place to go, no work commanding their attention, and passing that same park again on my way home at the end of the day, only to see many of the same young men still there. I simply knew that continuing to research and write scholarly papers about the phenomena was not sufficiently satisfying for me to continue doing so. I wanted to find a way to get on the solution side of that issue. It was that goal that I pursued with great intention during my year as a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard, that led to me joining what at the time was the only venture capital firm in the country managing private capital from institutional investors with a sole focus of investing capital in ideas and companies offered and led primarily by Black entrepreneurs. To be clear, my initial interest was intellectual. I wanted to understand how venture capitalists identified and worked with entrepreneurs to build successful companies, those that would provide sustainable employment to a growing workforce. I remained in that field for 11 years before teaming up with a fellow Howard University alum, Joanne Harris Price, who at that time was president of the National Association of Investment Companies, whom I'd known professionally for over a decade. She was 2 years ahead of me at Howard, and we never met as students when we were at Howard University. But together, we launched a firm designed to scale the type of investment activity in which I'd been directly involved for over a decade at that point. In sum, what we wanted to do was build a firm that would aggregate sufficient pools of capital to invest in multiple venture capital private investment vehicles that would focus on investing in and with diverse entrepreneurs from underserved communities. It was not as simple a task as it might appear or sound on its face. There were fewer than 10 so-called venture capital funds of funds in the country when we embarked on this endeavor versus well over 200 today, and none with our particular focus. And despite what I'd been taught as a student, that the capital markets function with rational efficiency, directing capital towards productive agents and high quality ideas that offer compelling data supportive of their capacity to generate the highest returns, and conversely steering capital away from those that did not. Over a decade in the field had revealed a more complicated reality beneath the rather antiseptic clinical moniker, capital markets. The reality is that the eponymous capital markets are in fact people. Thousands of people working in the investment offices of public and corporate pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, banks, insurance companies, government-owned entities, foundations, endowments, and wealthy family offices, making decisions about where and with whom to invest the stewardship of some of their particular institutions' financial capital. Many of whom were and remain reluctant to commit capital to a more diverse opportunity set of investment managers and entrepreneurs. Taken in isolation, the effects of any one institution's investment decisions on broader societal issues having to do with racial equity are de minimis, if not inconsequential. However, taken cumulatively, historically, the combined effects of decisions made across the institutional and investor corpus have served to skew the allocation of investment capital away from qualified, talented, diverse investment professionals capable of investing such capital responsibly across a broader landscape of people and investment opportunities with devastating consequences for Black and Brown communities throughout our country. As COVID-19 has recently exposed, the combined effects of this skewed allocation of investment capital, this cumulative economic redlining, results in a degree of systemic inequality across Black and Brown communities with respect to access to adequate housing, quality education, sustainable employment opportunities, healthy food, clean air and water, and healthcare services that in the present pandemic has led to such communities bearing a disproportionate amount of the pain and deaths caused by this horrible disease. So it's precisely for those reasons that my partner and I, Joanne Price, believe that the mission we were about to launch back in 1992 was an effort to change the face of the capital markets. No matter how quixotic it seemed at the time, it needed to be done. And we were quite clear that there were no guarantees of success. We began with an initial goal of raising a fund of $300 million. We succeeded in raising just shy of 100 million in that inaugural pool. It took us close to 2 years to do it. But over the course of now close to 27 years, we've raised 30 such pools of investment capital with aggregate fund capitalization of $10 billion, all from institutional investors, and all of which we manage on a completely discretionary basis. We've invested in more private market funds and firms managed by diverse fund managers in the United States than any other institutional investor in the country. So you might well ask, what, if anything, in all of this is of any use or value to me? And I want to note for your attention that our effort began with the desire to address a need, the formulation of a mission, and an accurate, brutally honest assessment and inventory of our particular initial endowments, which in our case were a belief in the quality of our ideas, what we consider to be our unrivaled market knowledge, our creative problem-solving ability, our integrity, our trust in each other, and our faith. Money was not among our initial endowments. We didn't have any. So don't be discouraged by what you don't have. Focus on the things that you do. You here at this institution, in this department, being inducted into the International Honor Society in Economics, are the beneficiaries of a first-class education. There is literally nothing that you cannot do or accomplish in the world if you are prepared to be committed in your pursuit and rigorous and honest in your self-assessment. Who are you? What do you want out of life? How do you propose to get it? Who or what do you serve? What pressing concerns of the human experience preoccupy your thoughts? Where do your passions lie? Life is procreative. It yields to intention. Sometimes you just have to be willing to begin, to take a single step, and then another, and then another. Do so and you never know where you might end up. I've been engaged in professional life for over 40 years now, and I can tell you without exaggeration that the conversations taking place at the highest levels of the corporate, government, civic, and philanthropic world are more substantive and focused on pursuing pathways to systemic change than at any other time in my career. There appears to be more genuine understanding that the current systemic racial economic inequities are simply unsustainable and immoral, and if not addressed in systemic fashion, our experiment in democracy will be deeply imperiled. Systemic change is no longer a nice to have, but a must have. What a tremendously exciting time to be at the beginning of your careers, when the playing field is in the process at long last of tilting, however imperceptibly, towards greater equality. I want to end this evening by sharing with you an abbreviated excerpt from a novel I first read as a student during my freshman year at Howard University, and which periodically I've chosen to read again, Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. It is taken from the novel's epilogue, and the protagonist is speaking directly to the reader. And I quote, "Thus I have come a long way and returned and boomeranged a long way from the point in society toward which I originally aspired. For like almost everyone else in our country, I started out with my share of optimism. I believed in hard work and progress and action. But now, after being for society and then against it, I assign myself no rank or any limit. And such an attitude is very much against the trends of the times. But my world has become one of infinite possibilities." What a phrase. Still, it's a good phrase and a good view of life. And a person shouldn't accept any other. Until some gain and putting the world in a straitjacket. Its definition is possibility. Students, the world before you is one of infinite possibilities. And I hope that you will each embrace them. Thank you. Congratulations to our inductees this evening. May Providence be with you.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Dr. Morse. At this time, Alexandra will start with a couple of questions. If anybody else has any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll have you answer questions for about 8 or 9 minutes. All right, Alexandria?
Hi everyone. I'm Alexandria Green, a graduating senior economics and political science double major. Hi, Dr. Morris. It's such an honor to be able to ask you a few questions.
Well,
Thank
it's a
you
privilege to
for-
be here, Ms. Green. A pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. So I really had, my first question was like, what blueprint would you suggest for current undergraduate students at Howard and graduate students for young adults who would want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, you flatter me by suggesting that someone will want to follow in my footsteps. You know, this is a funny thing because I've often been asked the question, if I had to do it again, how might I approach my undergraduate career? And as much as I certainly valued and continue to value my training in economics, I'm more prone to say to people that I would have majored in mathematics and minored in English, or the reverse, because I tend to believe that languages and a facility with languages, mathematics so that you see and understand how things move relative to one another, English because it tends to be the lingua franca of much of the world, that with that as a core foundation, you can literally go anywhere and do anything. You can go to graduate school in physics. You could go to graduate school in economics. And indeed, I had a couple of classmates who were not economics majors as undergraduates, but have been trained in math or physics. If I were speaking to a young person who didn't have a clear passion yet, or something, look, my best friend at Howard University was a guy that I had known from second grade. We had literally grown up together. And he wanted to be a doctor in second grade. And he knew it. And he never wavered. And he came to Howard and he was pre-med and then he went to medical school. That was not me. I was not that kid. I didn't have as clear a focus at that age. So if I were counseling someone who kind of didn't have a very particular bias, gift, or passion in one dimension and knew what that was, I'd say then equip yourself with the tools that are going to give you the broadest possible utility. And in that case, I'd recommend mathematics and English, or mathematics in multiple languages. Beyond that, look, I've spent the last 40 years in the private markets, if you will, with a particular bias towards venture capital. And in that world, much of what we're doing is investing in people who are themselves investing at the frontiers of technology. I just think so many wonderful things are happening on so many fronts in the life sciences and information sciences at this point that are literally not going to change the world, but are changing the world as we speak. That again, equipping yourself broadly, allowing yourself the tools to be able to go in that direction or any other that you choose would probably be what I'd recommend, Ms. Green. I hope that's of some utility.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
You answered my question. Someone in the chat had a question for you. I could let them ask their question. Charles?
Dr. Betsy, I'll read the question for you. Do you want to speak on your own novel that reflects on your time at Howard? And this is from Charles Betsy.
Oh God, Dr. Charles Betsy, Dr. Betsy and Dr. Sims, both mentors of mine. I got to know early in my career. I got to work with Dr. Sims at the Urban Institute, who's Dr. Betsy's significant other. And, of course, Dr. Betsy was esteemed faculty member at Howard for many years. I did not pay him to ask that question. And I was hoping I could get through this evening without, my remarks this evening may belie the fact, but the reality is I'm uncomfortable talking about myself. I don't especially enjoy it. Now, having said that, having put that out there, I worked on Sundial. In fact, when I left the Urban Institute, I financed myself a year to finish a novel that I had begun working on when I was in graduate school. And that novel was Sundial. And it was set on the campus of Howard University. But what I was trying to get at the time, not in a sociological fashion, but in a literary fashion, was what the experience of being a young person at an historically Black college is really about. The warp and weft of it, the day-to-dayness of it, of feeling at home in the world and empowered in the world and supported in the world in a way as a human being that enriches you for the rest of your life. And at the time, there was this debate going on in various public arenas about the continued value of Black institutions. Why do we need them? Why should they continue to exist? I mean, and I just thought that was the most utter nonsense imaginable. I'd gone to London School of Economics, I'd gone to Princeton, I'd gone to Harvard, and I knew what the value was, right? I'd lived it, and I would not substitute it for anything in the world. I tell people to this day, they think that I'm exaggerating, but I'm literally not. The day that I graduated from Howard University was one of the saddest days of my life. Literally. I sat there and I was just sad because I was being forced to leave, right? In some ways, I sort of felt, look, I knew the cost of going to the London School of Economics. It was a good year. I got a lot out of it. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. I grew in some ways that were very important to me as an individual, as a human being. It was really valuable to step outside of this country and to see myself outside of this country and to see the country from a different vantage. But I also knew that I was giving up what is one of the most critical years in your undergraduate experience, because the first 2 years, you're kind of sorting things out. You're trying to find your sea legs, you're trying to find your core, the people that you bond with who have similar interests, and sometimes people that you're really close to in your freshman year, by the time you become a junior, I mean, you're still on speaking terms, you're still friends, but you're just not close because you've evolved, you've grown, and in some ways grown apart. You found your groove, if you will. You found your lane. And when I came back, for my senior year at Howard, and things were the same in some ways and very different in others, and I knew that I only had 9 months left, I tried to make the most of it. But on graduation day, I felt it. I said, I'll never get that year. That year's gone forever. I absolutely love the experience, and the richness of it is, I think, something not often understood very well. And it certainly at the time I thought wasn't captured very well in fiction on the shelf. The everydayness of young Black boys and Black girls meeting and falling in love. I dare you to explain to somebody the meaning of stepping out onto the main campus on Friday at noon in springtime. There is simply nothing like it. Enough said. I'll stop talking about Sundial, but it's still in print. It's on Amazon. You can find it if you're intrigued enough to want to read it.
Okay, and I think there's one last question from Ambassador Everson Hull, who was actually the first person to earn a PhD in economics from Howard. And he asked, what are the merits of a course in options trading for our economics program? And generally, does economics provide any comparative advantage? And so this will be the last question that we'll have for you.
So are those two separate questions?
I think there are two questions, and I think he's trying to get at the point of teaching economics to students. So.
Oh, well, look, I'm totally biased. And obviously I think that it ought to be an essential part of any young person's undergraduate education. You don't have to necessarily major in economics, but I think any young person on the campus would benefit from at least taking the first two courses, you know, macro and micro. There are ways of organizing your thoughts. There's a rigor that is enforced by the discipline of coming to terms with economics that I just think is invaluable. And it is something I believe you never lose. You know, to this day, I find myself using concepts and thinking in ways that are inescapable for me now as a result of my training, although I've not been a professional economist for, you know, 35, 40 years. In that sense, I think any young person is advantaged by having some exposure to economics as an undergraduate, whether or not they choose to major in the field. Options trading, I can't speak about it. I'm completely out of my depth.
Okay, well, we want to thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, and I hopefully the students got something of value from your comments. We're going to now start our recognition part of the program, where Dr. McDaniel, Vincent McDaniel, the former chairman of the department, will speak. But before he speaks, I'll let you know that my dad did join the meeting, and he said hello in the chat.
Well, thank you so much, and a salute to him. And I'm honored that he would come out this evening.
All right, Dr. McDaniel, are you ready?
I think you're muted, Dr. McDaniel. Donald.
Was that time up, right?
We can hear you.
Dr. Morse, trustees, chairman of the board of trustees, Dr. Pocha, Dean Patterson, Professor Swinton, Chair, Department of Economics, members of HUEDAA, and Abram Harris, the Graduate Students Association, friends of the Department of Economics. As usual, it's a pleasure for me to share this annual occasion, even in this period in which we are withdrawn from direct being in touch with each other directly during this coronavirus period. But here I seek to proclaim and highlight the importance of the study of economics. The necessary foundation, of course, is necessary, as Dr. Morse has suggested, but I would encourage our majors and those who are looking forward to recognize the importance of economics. How important is this? This department has over the years assumed and is carrying out its responsibilities of leadership as it guides the students in recognizing the merits or pursuing studies in the field of economics. The universality of an economics degree training is well recognized. We see our graduates in academia, we see it in business, in law, the banking, international institutions, and in politics. As we recognize where our Vice President is today from this department. If I may, just on the side, not long ago, I visited an ophthalmologist at the Johns Hopkins Clinic to see a specialist. She specializes in cataract, glaucoma surgery, etc. To my surprise, I discovered that her undergraduate degree was in economics prior to receiving her MD from Howard University. To ODE initiatives, I say congratulations as you assume your place in one of the world's largest academic honor society, which recognizes your scholarship and service as you pursue your professional career. It is with this enduring interest and love for the profession and this department that following my retirement from the department some 20 years ago, that in cooperation with HUEDAA, a decision was made to recognize annually a student who through his or her scholarship, leadership, community service, and career goals be recognized and encouraged to pursue their interests in the discipline. As such, I am pleased to recognize Mr. Similori Olatunde as the 2021 Senior Recognition Award winner here in the department. Mr. Olatunde, honors student in the Department of Economics and Biology, distinguished himself with a 3.92 GPA. He is a member of several organizations, International Youth Leadership Council member and advocate for youth, logistics volunteer, model United Nations, champion health advocate, United Nations Foundation, member Beta Kappa Child Scientific Honor Society, Abram Harris Economics Society, Young Professionals in Foreign Policy, United Nations Association of the United States of America, and last but not least, he is also a tenor sax player in the Howard Show Time Marching Band. His goal is to attend graduate school with a focus on health economics and to become a health administrator, focusing on health and global health policy. Possibly having the opportunity to be in an international organization which is the area of interest for him. It gives me great pleasure. I don't know if it's present. I think the plaque might be present there. But it gives me great pleasure to have this plaque presented to him with the 2021 McDonald Senior Recognition Award. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Is Mr. Dever He's not, there. Good to see you.
Hi, Dr. Good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I got the plaque today. Thank you so much to the HUE Economics Department Alumni Association as well. This is a really great honor for me. Just a bit of a background. So I'm a double major. I kind of like, when I was listening to Dr. Morse speak as well, it's really interesting how we don't necessarily know our paths. I came in the College of Nursing actually, my freshman year before switching to the course and double major in economics and biology. So it hasn't been a smooth path, trying to juggle both, but it's been really interesting. And I've really loved every economics class I've taken. Actually, I took my first economics course my sophomore year as well. So it's been really, really interesting taking economics classes, learning from various professors, Dr. Daniels, Dr. Blank, Dr. Shu, and a lot of other professors as well. So I really, really appreciate this. And just special shout out to one of my really good brothers and fraternity brother, Lekon Bello. Some of you may know him, might not know him. He graduated from Howard 2019. And I know my conversations with him also led me to actually double major in economics because he's really passionate about it. And interestingly, I was able to get some fire from him too. So thank you all so very much for this award. And thank you, Dr. McDonald, again.
Great.
Congratulations. We're gonna move on to the next word. Aji, are you ready?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me. So I normally this would have been a good time to announce the Graduate Travel Award. My name is Aji Fatu Jain. I am a graduate of the Economics Department, class of 2018 PhD. And I'm very glad that Dr. Morse is here tonight with us and sharing those just great insights with us. And as some of us who are just starting our careers as professionals in the economics field, I think this is really, really great to hear what we can do as professionals in this field to improve our communities. So as I said before, normally we award a graduate student to attend the annual ASSA meetings. And given that this year they were virtual because of the pandemic, we were able to support some students to attend via virtually and supported their registration. And I know I have some of those students online, so I'll just recognize them because they were great students and they were able to attend and not just attend the meetings, but also participated on panels discussing their research. And I personally attended some of those panels, and I want to say great job to all of them for sharing their research. So if I just call your name, please come on and just say hello. Saskia Kersey.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
David Dongo. Okay, James Flowers.
Peace, peace.
Great. Nyanya Brown.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Great. So those were the students that we were able to support. And again, Howard Economics alumni, we're here, Economics Department alumni, we're here to support the students every year. And we will continue to do so, by providing any advice that we can. We have advised many students who have taken on PATs, working in governments and different areas. And we're always trying to recruit some new, fresh bodies. So please join us when you can and after you have graduated and continuing the support. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Aji. Dr. Hunt, are you ready to present our Omicron Delta Epsilon members?
Yes, I am. I'm ready. Chair of the department, Dr. Swinton, Dr. Morse, Chair of the Board of Trustees, Howard University, and of course, a graduate of our economics department. Welcome home, Dr. Morse. Dr. Anthony Wothu, Provost and Chief Academic Officer. Dr. Ruben Patterson, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Professor Vincent McDonald, former advisor of our ODE Beta chapter at Howard University, my colleagues, professors in the Economics Department, members of Howard University Economics Department Alumni Association, economic students in our department. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My task this evening is to introduce to you our inductees into the internationally recognized Honor Society of Economics, Omicron Delta Epsilon, ODE. But before doing so, however, let me briefly mention that ODE is one of the world's largest academic honor societies. The objectives of ODE are as follows: recognition of scholastic achievement and the honoring of outstanding achievements in economics. Establish linkages between students and faculty in economics within colleges and universities. Publish articles in economics in the official academic journal, The American Economist. Sponsor panels at professional meetings in economics, and organize and manage ODE graduate and undergraduate research awards in various competitions. Currently, Omicron Delta Epsilon has 696 chapters located in many universities across the United States of America and around the world. As a member of ODE, you have access to a network of colleagues, and this can be a useful tool for building one's career in this important social science. Our ODE chapter at Howard University began in the early 1950s, when ODE was known at that time as Omicron Delta Gamma. I would like to encourage students to join our ODE chapter, as it is among the first set of indicators about your growing professionalism in economics. Additionally, it will add a few points to your CV and establish connections. The only criteria for membership are a minimum GPA of no less than 3.0 in economics and a minimum of 12 credit hours in economics. Please contact me as we need to reestablish the committee of our Beta chapter at Howard University. Mr. Chairman, permit me now to introduce our two new members, Ms. Kyla York and Ms. Ryan Gibson. Congratulations to you. Keep up the good work. Welcome. Thank you very much. Will Kyla and Ms. Gibson speak if they want, if they're here? Thank you again.
So Ms. Kyla York, if you want to say hello so everyone can see you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla York. I'm a graduating senior political science and economics double major from Chicago, and thank you guys for honoring me today.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Gibson, and I'm a junior political science major, economics minor from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm so glad to see so many friendly faces in my professors and family. Thank you all.
And could everybody who's a member of ODE or has been inducted just type your name in the chat so we could get a running list of the members who are in the department? Because there's a large community of people who are active in ODE in the department as it stands. So the next presentation will be a salute to HUEDAA. Our economics department is lucky to have the only department-specific alumni association who provides us with support and scholarships for our students. Hazel Robinson is the president, but she was unable to make it to the event tonight. So I would like to bring forth Dr. Charles Thorpe to do the presentation on behalf of Hazel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charles Thorpe, the Vice President for HUEDAA. I'm here sitting in for esteemed President, Lieutenant Colonel Hazel Robinson, who sends her regrets. She's unable to attend tonight because she had some unavoidable conflicts that came up at short notice. Anyway, so I just she wants to ensure that you do enjoy the program and that all goes well. One of my first assignments is to acknowledge our chairman of the economics department. We want to honor him by giving him an award, which he has already received. So what I'll do, I'll try to share my screen, and if you can see the award, I will read it for you and for those who are unable to hear it. So it says, well, I hope you can see it. This is from, salutes our brilliant chairman, Omari H. Swinton, PhD, for his excellent leadership and dedicated service in his first term as chairman of the Department of Economics. During his first term, Dr. Swinton has served as the president-elect and president of the National Economic Association, in that he has secured the American Economic Association Summer Training Program for minority students at Howard University, and he guided the economics department into the top 100 ranking of the economic departments in the United States, according to the US News and World Report. So congratulations, Dr. Swinton, and it's dated today, April 22nd, 2021. Thank you. So in addition, I want to do a little brief history on the forming of HUEDAA. Did you see the screen share? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure if you did. Okay, thank you. Let me just go through a little quick brief few minutes presentation here. Let me do my share screen one more time. Okay, can you see this? Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm looking for. All right, so HUEDAA, which is the Howard University Economic Department Alumni Association, we were established in about 20 years ago, in 2001, around April 27th. So our mission, again, is basically to provide advice and support to the faculty and student of the economics department at Howard University. We have a little brief write-up in the program attachment, so if you want to get some more details, you can follow along. But our basic founding members were Lieutenant Hazel Robinson, Dr. Sandra Cook Hull. If you're around, you can wave and let folks see you. Dr. Gwendolyn Flowers, myself, of course, Dr. Gwinnell Walters Bass, Ms. Connie Hamilton, Dr. Joanne Roll, Dr. Yusuf Ahmad, Ms. Doris Newton, Ms. Patricia Lott Smith, and Ms. Susan Johnson. All right, so those were us in the beginning. But here are some slides that I would like to present on some of the recent student graduates and awardees. Here, getting their various awards along the way. Was a graduate student awardee at that year, and some of the other recipients of awards here. In this slide here, I want to talk about Career Day, some of the activities that HUEDAA conducted, whereby we had a Career Day at the World Bank. The person on the extreme right, who was the facilitator that day, was Dr. Winston Dawes. He's currently in Rwanda. I spoke to him earlier today, and it's currently like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, so I doubt he's looking at you guys now. But these are the bunch of students here at the World Bank. Another set of activities that we undertook, we have what we call a Distinguished Alumni Program. And here you see this one here is Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford. He was our Distinguished Alumni in the year 2016. And next in the middle, you have Dr. Wanzi Odegibi. He was our Distinguished Alumni in the year 2013. He's currently in the government of Nigeria. I think he's in charge of the finance over there. And in this slide, we have some of the other distinguished awardee. To your left is Dr. Everson Hull, who you heard about as being the first graduate, a PhD graduate from Howard University. Then we have he was in the year 2010. In the year 2003, we had Dr. Debbie Lindsay. And then in the year 2005, we had Mr. Joseph Hawkins, of course. And then in the year 2007, our own leader, Ms. Hazel Robinson. Okay, let me get you some other slides here where you can see what we're doing. Here we have some retired faculty. I'm trying to give you some nostalgia from back in the day. This is Dr. Vincent McDonald from way back when, and the esteemed Dr. Charles Betsy. He was another professor, I can't remember his name. And again, Dr. Hung here. This is at some of the retired faculty. All right, my next slide is on some of, at a retirement function for Dr. Vincent McDonald, Dr. Ransford Palmer, Dr. Charles Betsy, and Dr. Rodney Green. So if you look carefully, you can see some of the distinguished folks. Right here is Dr. McDonald. This is Dr. Palmer. Of course, that's a younger Dr. Hunt. And here we go. This is Dr. Caldwell, back in the day, professor back then. And of course, this is Dr. Everson Hull. And here's our treasurer right now, Ms. Pat Smith, okay? So I'm trying to be brief. And finally, what we have is some of the, what we talk about at a retirement function that we had. And this is the celebration for Dr. Palmer's retirement at in 2013 at the B. Smith restaurant. So here are some of the HUEDAA members. You can point yourself out, Patricia Smith, Dr. Bass, oh man, Hazel. This is I'm trying to go real fast. Gwendolyn Flowers, Hawkins, and Marilyn. And here are some of the other members of HUEDAA at another occasion. And of course, Dr. Dawes, and here's Jan, and here is Miss Alberta, Bass, Patricia Smith, Doris Newton is the one I forgot over here, next to Mr. Hawkins, Patricia, Debbie Lindsay, Dr. Hull, and Dr. Sandra Cook Hull. So, and myself here. So these are the folks that have been over the years helping to keep HUEDAA alive. So what we want to do is we want to have some things coming up in the future to help us celebrate our 20th year. The fact that we're virtual, we're planning to do it this year, but we have to scale it back a little bit. But we are going to begin in September by having a sort of alumni open house and career days in economics in September 23rd. We're trying to do that. And then later on in October, on the 28th, we're trying to have a discussion whereby we're going to talk about congressional funding of HBCUs and the economic impact of the pandemic of HBCUs. And this will be done by virtually by Catherine LeBlanc. And we're going to have some other events continuing next year to continue our celebration, our 20th year celebration. So I wanted to give you a quick rundown of some of the activities and events that HUEDAA has undertaken in conducting our mission of providing advice and support to the economics department over the years. And Dr. Morse, I just want to mention that we did cross paths at the Urban Institute back in the late 70s. Thank you.
I recognize you, Dr. Thorpe.
Thank you, sir.
And
Dr. Smith, it's back to you.
Oh, I was going.
You're muted.
I was letting Aji say something first.
Okay. Thanks, Charles. That was really amazing. And congratulations to HUEDAA. This is really great. We're inspired. I just wanted to say a special thank you to Dr. McDonald for the continued support of the Senior Recognition Award and for always coming in and ready to present the award. So thank you, Dr. McDonald, and all the faculty and staff for supporting us as always.
And so before we end the program, I do believe Hazel also sent an award to Dr. Morse. If you have it with you, can you hold it up so everyone can see it? I don't know what the text says, but if you want to read it for us, Dr. Morse.
Certainly, I'd be delighted to. Howard University salutes Dr. Laurence C. Morse, class of 1973, summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa graduate, Chairman, Board of Trustees, as keynote speaker, Department of Economics, Howard University Economics Department Alumni Association, Virtual Spring Recognition Program, April 22nd, 2021. It is beautiful, and I am honored. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And I'd also would like to thank HUEDAA for the award, but I can't do anything without the faculty that we have in our department. I'll say when I come into departmental meetings or university meetings, I always say, well, we don't have those issues in economics, because we don't. For the most part, we get along well, we work well, and we all want to see the students have the best opportunities that they can have. And so I wanted to introduce our new faculty member who will be joining us in the fall. If Anna could say hi.
Hello everyone. Yeah, this was a great event, and I'm glad to be here.
And as I tell Dean Patterson all the time, we are now trending as the youngest department at the university in terms of the age of the faculty. And I think that gives us the energy that we have to get all the things that we get done. This year, to close out the program, in his first year as Director of Graduate Studies, we'll have Dennis Baglin giving the closing remarks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dennis Baglin. I am the Director of Undergraduate Economics Department. I would like to thank Provost Wuto and Dean Patterson for their attendance. I would like to give my special thanks to Dr. Morse for his attendance, lecture, and conversation. I would also like to thank alumni for their continuous support. Of course, Economics Department faculty, graduate, and undergraduate students. This has been a very strange year. I lectured 1 year, 1 full year from my bedroom, and I still cannot believe it. I am sure some of our students here know me, but for our students who have not met me yet, I am that professor who constantly sends announcements, reminders, and job openings. If you are here and you haven't met me before, nice to meet you, all of you. We are still in the middle of the pandemic. I do hope that it will be over in the next coming months, and we will be able to go back to face-to-face teaching in the fall. Now, I would like to slow down for a moment and congratulate our prospective graduates. Congratulations. I'm going to send a reaction now because I cannot do anything else. You guys did it. You are officially an economist now. We have a lot of job opportunities in the economics department throughout the year. We have been constantly meeting with various employers and passing all these opportunities to our students. So we just have one request from those students who are going to landing these good jobs. We would be very grateful if you come back to us and let us know about the openings and opportunities that you come across. Thank you very much for your attendance. Have a great night.
All right, and thank you everybody for attending. We appreciate it. I think we maxed out at about 140 people. I'm gonna leave the Zoom open and play some music. So if you want to chat with people you haven't seen in a while, feel free.